Hello everyone, I'm Xiaoying, a PhD student at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Today my topic is bridging the generational gap, exploring how virtual reality supports remote communication between grandparents and grandchildren. Grandparents and grandchildren can benefit from cross-intergenerational communication. However, today's families are becoming increasingly disparate due to many factors, including the younger generations relocating for work or school. And this imposes challenges to maintain close connection between grandparents and grandchildren. Currently, people use audio-visual communication methods to stay in contact with remote family members. However, these media are limited in catering to their needs for getting a better sense of togetherness and companionship, and do not provide something to do together to foster conversation. Previous research has demonstrated that virtual reality has the potential to mitigate this limitation. First, users can interact via embodied avatar, which allows them to perceive a better sense of togetherness and communicate more freely. Second, users can interact within a shared 3D virtual world and engage in various shared activities in VR. While prior work showed that older adults and their younger generations feel enjoyable and understand each other better by engaging in VR activities, it still remains unknown how grandparents and grandchildren would want VR to be designed to facilitate their remote communication. Inspired by this line of work, we take a further step to answer the following research question. How might VR to be leveraged to facilitate intergenerational communication between grandparents and grandchildren regarding avatar design, interpersonal interaction, shared activity, and the barriers that need to be adjusted? To answer these questions, we conducted a user-centered participatory design study with 12 pairs of grandparents and grandchildren who have lived separately for more than 1 year and did not currently live together. The study contained 4 parts as shown in this figure, including VR introduction, VR experience, semi-structured interview, and participatory design. We analyzed the study data and formed 4 main themes. For the avatar appearances, we find that there are 3 main types of avatar that they want to be represented in VR, which are avatar reflecting their current physical appearances, avatar reflecting the ideal version of themselves, and avatar with no obvious reference to themselves. In this presentation, I would like to share participants' perceptions of avatar reflecting the ideal version of themselves in detail. In our study, half grandparents and a few grandchildren created this type of avatar. However, grandparents and grandchildren have different views of their ideal version. For grandparents, they're tending to want their avatar to look like their younger self. Their main reasons for creating this avatar are to reminisce about their past experiences, to show their youth appearances to their grandchildren, and to get confidence. From grandchildren's perspective, they feel pleased to see their younger grandparents in VR, and thought this avatar helped them to bridge the generational gap and make them feel more equal to grandparents than in reality. Additionally, grandchildren also feel that this avatar triggered their curiosity to want to learn more about their grandparents' old time, which sparked their conversation about the past. On the other hand, grandchildren tending to have more extravagant and good-looking appearances than what they would normally look like in real life. Grandparents would also generally receptive to this type of avatar and even feel fine to mate with their dress-up grandchildren. When communicating in VR, grandparents and grandchildren behavior shows some differences compared to offline situation. Firstly, participants make physical contact frequently in VR, including holding hands and hugging. In addition, grandchildren were observed to pat their grandparents' hands and poke their cheeks, which would be considered inappropriate or impolite. Although such intimate physical contacts may be common in many Western societies, they are often considered too sentimental and rarely happen in Eastern societies, where our participants grow up and live. Additionally, participants suggest that the vibrations feedback of the handlers enhance their feeling of togetherness. Grandparents and grandchildren expected to have richer sensory feedback to provide them with the feeling of meeting in person and elevate their feeling of nostalgia. Our work also showed what activity would grandparents and grandchildren like to engage in VR. This figure showed participants aid in vision share activity with example sketches. We further categorized this activity into 3 groups. Participants showed their awareness to experiences difficult to visit locations in the physical world. Frequently mentioned locations include tourist attraction and personal meaningful place. The second category was reminiscence. The current approach to reminiscence is verbal description by grandparents. In this process, grandchildren often need to use their imagination to reconstruct the objects and the environment that they may not have experienced before. They believe VR could be the potential tool to share grandparents' life story in the past with their grandchildren in more concrete and interactive way. The last category of shared activity was re-experiencing familiar daily activity that they used to do together in reality, such as family dining, watching TV, play sports, or doing hands-on activity, and simply chatting. This familiar daily activity allows participants to have fun and enjoy a sense of togetherness. While participants generally show positive attitude toward VR, they also share 3 perceived barriers to VR for remote intergenerational communication, including inconveniences in initiating communication using VR devices, operation difficulty, and safety concerns. This barrier needs to be addressed in the future to make VR more accessible for grandparents and grandchildren. Based on the results, we contribute 8 design implications that inform the future design of VR-based grandparent-grandchildren communications. Please read our paper to see more detail. Finally, I want to share with you 2 types of research questions we will explore in the next step. Firstly, this work suggests that engaging in VR activity fosters conversation between grandparents and grandchildren and propose several VR share activities that they would like to engage in. We will explore the design strategies for a specific share activity in the next step, such as reminiscence or traveling together. Second, most VR operations are designed for younger people who are more tech-savvy than older adults. This would make the elderly frustrated and distracted from communication. To achieve better collaboration experiences, we want to explore possible interaction methods that allow both older adults and younger people to engage better in shared VR activity, such as adopting asymmetric operations. Those questions are needed to be explored to better support the VR-based remote communication between grandparents and grandchildren. Thank you for listening.